Welcome to Momentum, a podcast breaking down the biggest issues facing women's sports, brought to you by Mecca Empower. I'm Kat Sasso, and each week I will be joined by experts and athletes as we dive deep into the world of women's sports and all the trials and triumphs that exist within them. This week, I am joined by Olympic skateboarding superstar Ruby Trew. But before we jump into Ruby's story, let's get ready. If we're talking about a true icon in Australian sports, look no further than Ruby Trew, the 15-year-old Olympic skateboarder whose rise to success has been nothing short of phenomenal. Ruby's journey has been marked by hard work, talent, and an incredible resilience that has made her one of the most inspiring young athletes in Australia today. But Ruby's story is more than just about winning medals. It's about breaking barriers. Skateboarding, like many action sports, has long been a male-dominated space, and for young girls like Ruby, stepping into this world requires more than just skill. It takes confidence, determination, and the courage to challenge stereotypes. As a young female skateboarder, Ruby had to push past doubters and pave her own way, proving that the skate park is just as much a place for women as it is for men. Her rise is a reminder that young girls in male-dominated sports face unique challenges, but also have the power to change the game. Ruby's success is a beacon of hope for girls who dream of competing in sports where they're often told that they don't belong. And beyond her performances on the board, Ruby is becoming an idol for young girls in sport, and her story proves the importance of representation and equality in order to break down the barriers that prevent young girls from pursuing their passions. Ruby, it has been such a huge year for you, but what was it like to experience Paris?
It was definitely an experience I'll never forget. The whole journey up to Paris was pretty great as well, like a year and a half of training, working hard just to get there, and then getting to be there with some of my best friends, my dad, my coach, my whole family getting to go over and support me while I was competing. And to be representing Australia in the green and gold was definitely a really great achievement for me, and yeah, I'll never forget it.
Can you tell me where your story started in skateboarding?
First started when I was 5 years old. I was on my three-wheel scooter down at Manly Beach, and my dad couldn't keep up with me because I was going so fast. And so he ended up getting a skateboard from the local skate shop down there. And so I was like, oh, I want to try that. So got on his board, I started trying it, and he could see I had really good balance. So he ended up getting me my own skateboard eventually. So would go down a Manly course, so learn to push and stop. And then my dad thought it'd be great if I go and see another girl skateboarder and get to skate with her and experience that. So we ended up going to Monster Skate Park on his birthday. I think I was around 6 then. And I remember we went there and there was this massive half pipe, and I was like, oh my God, I want to drop in on that. But I don't think I could even slide down it yet. And I was only ever doing the basics, and I remember just walking around trying to look for just a little tiny ramp that I could learn on. And then I remember seeing Poppy Star. She was one of the first Australian girls to start park skateboarding, and she was in the Tokyo Olympics. I remember seeing her and oh my gosh, that's Poppy. So stoked I get to even see her. And I remember she was there at the skate park, and yeah, it was really great meeting her, and she fully gave me confidence to start skateboarding more and more and be like, hey, I can do this with her.
So you started competing at 6, right?
Yeah.
And then you were beating adult women by the age of 10. Has there ever been any other aspirations for you other than skateboarding, or has skateboarding just always been your number one goal?
Well, growing up by the beach, I've always had surfing and the ocean as well. I've always loved swimming, and sometimes I do gymnastics when I was younger, but skateboarding was definitely one I really stick to. I'm definitely really passionate about surfing as well. I have my national titles competition coming up soon in December, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, I guess I'll always kind of be connected to the ocean and the beach. So whenever I'd be skating for a while, I'd be like, oh, I just need to go surfing, get my hair wet. So go for a surf, or if I've been surfing heaps, I go for a skate. So, and I guess they kind of both help each other, because some people only do one sport and they get really tired and burnt out, and the only thing they either do is do some more schoolwork. But having surfing as well is pretty great because I can swap from both of them, and yeah, I find it really great that I can just swap and balance them both out.
And is there much crossover in the skills that you need for skateboarding and surfing?
Um, it's kind of different because one is in the ocean and one is on concrete, but I guess they're both to do with balance and like they're both board sports, and it's hard to compare them because they're both so similar and so different at the same time. But I do find it easier like doing the both compared to something like gymnastics and skateboarding. But I don't know. I just love doing sports in general, being active no matter what I'm doing. Being outside is, yeah, what I love.
You mentioned school just before. You're still at school. So how do you manage to balance all of your sports and be in high school still?
That's probably like the hardest thing about being an elite athlete and being in school. It's such a hard balance knowing how much training is too much or not enough, how much schoolwork is like a lot. And I find Narrabeen Sports High, the school I go to, are really great with that. When I go away for surfing competitions or skateboarding comps, they're always there when I come back. My friends at school are there telling me what assessments I've due. But yeah, I find it good still going to school and getting to socialize with other people, feeling like still a bit like normal, like every day. Getting to see my sisters at school as well. Because like a lot of my friends, they do homeschooling. They don't get to go to school and see what people do every day and have to do exams and if they're good at maths or science or, yeah, I don't know.
And you're really close friends with some of the other young girls that are in skateboarding, like Chloe and Arissa. How important have those friendships been to you? And, you know, to go through all of this craziness, how important has it been to do that all together?
Yeah, I mean, skateboarding, it's a very inclusive sport. Like when you're at the skate park and you're skating alone, that's probably one of the hardest things to do just because you don't have anyone to motivate you and skate with. But being with my friends, like Arissa and Chloe, has been so much more of a benefit for me. I feel like in skateboarding, when you're with your friends skating, they're pushing you and you're also pushing them. Like, oh, I just landed that trick. Like, yeah, you got to land yours as well. Like, yeah, and we're all pushing each other, and it's not really like a competitive, like, oh, she did that, like, oh, I've got to do that better. But it's more of like a friendship thing and supporting each other and helping each other. And as well as a bit of like, instead of being with my dad all the time, I get to hang out with my friends and not really miss my friends back home as well so much. And yeah, I've made so many great friendships over this journey. It's not just been about sport, it's been about where I've been, like all these new relationships I've made, and the experience has just been amazing.
And, you know, you're a part of this new generation coming through, like this new generation of athletes where you actually have, you know, female role models that you are able to look up to from childhood and see, hey, I can actually do that. But I'm interested in knowing, have you ever faced any kind of gender barriers that have, you know, it's a traditionally male-dominated sport. Do you think there's anything that has kind of been a little bit difficult to break through in terms of, you know, gender barriers and things like that?
I mean, growing up in skateboarding, there was never any girls skateboarding. Remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, I'd be the only girl at the skate park just with boys. But I feel like now the boys really encourage the girls and they want them to get better at the skateboarding competitions. If I ever have struggles with like my lines or my tricks, I can always ask some of the Aussie boys for some advice and they'll always help me. And I guess the skateboarding culture is really inclusive, like no matter how old you are, your gender or what age, like everyone supports each other. Like it's just a free sport, like everyone's at the skate park. You're never going to be judging anyone, you can just really be you there. And that's the great thing about skateboarding, like how unique it is and how new it is and what some people don't understand. Like you can go to the skate park and you'll see a 5-year-old learning to skate and then also like a 60-year-old and no one cares. Like you've got a pink helmet on, a dress on, and yeah, you're just doing your own thing and everyone's so inclusive, and that's what I love about it.
And is there anyone that you've kind of looked up to during your career, or anyone that's kind of given you some really awesome advice for yourself and for your career?
The main person I look up to is probably my dad. He's been there since I was 5 and he's come all the way here. he definitely feels like he's believed in me the most. Obviously, my family has believed in me the most out of everyone, and I know I definitely could have gone to the Olympics and been on this journey without him. He's had to stop work and be a full-time skateboarding coach, and he really knew nothing about the sport. He had to learn it all off Google and YouTube and other coaches, and always just trying to make me the best that I can be. So I know I definitely couldn't be here without my dad, and yeah, he's definitely one of my best friends as well. Like the memories we've made and the journeys and challenges we had to overcome. Only being so young as well, I know we've got so much to look forward to in the future.
And you said you've got your younger siblings. Are any of them into sport? Are they skateboarders, surfers?
Well, my one sister, she loves surfing. She's always out there surfing at Narrabeen, my local break. And then my other sister loves soccer. They're kind of like finding what they like, but they both still surf and skate with me. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, come down the skate park. I've got no one else to skate with. You've got to come. But I mean, I got a really good relationship with my sisters, and we're really close in age. They're only 14. So if I'm like ever struggling with something or feeling a bit lonely, I know I can always go to them and go hang out and do something fun. So yeah, I've got a really good relationship with them, and yeah, they've been a huge part of my journey to Paris as well.
And you spoke about your love for surfing earlier, and you're obviously an exceptional surfer, no surprises there. Where does your focus sit now for LA 2028?
Well, I haven't really decided if I'm going to try to do just skateboarding or try go for surfing yet. I feel like the main thing for me is just keep having fun with it and loving the sport. I mean, there's really no rush for me to go for surfing. I know I've got a lot ahead for me. And after just the whole experience at Paris, it's been like a lot. So I just want to like calm down from that and just relax a bit. I've like caught up with a lot of my schoolwork now, and I've seen all my friends, and yeah, just like the whole experience and journey of Paris was like such a major thing. Like you don't realize how much it takes out of you. But I'm really excited for LA 2028 to come up. I mean, a lot of people have said after you experience Paris, you just want to go to another one. It's like an addiction, the Olympics. But yeah, I definitely want to experience it again, whether it's surfing or skateboarding or both. I really just want to stay in both and just keep having fun is the main thing.
And touching back on Paris, what was like a typical day look like? What did a typical day look like? Because I know for me, I would love to know what it looks like being an Olympian in Paris for the Olympics.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool because I got to stay with my friend Arissa. So I think we were meant to stay in different rooms, but we ended up staying in the same room together because we loved just chatting and waking up. And our room was like really, really messy because we had both of our Australian kit there. And when we got it, we were so excited. We just ripped everything open the day. So we had all the rubbish on our bed, and like the bin was like overflowing. We had like clothes everywhere. So in the mornings we'd wake up, we'd like match outfits in our Australia kits so we'd be the same. And then we'd head over to the village because we weren't staying in the village. We had to stay in like a hotel about like 10-minute walk away. So we'd head over there with our chaperone, and then we'd get into the village. And I think the first thing we did was get the like big poke bowls. We'd fill it up with like rice bubbles and Nutri-Grain, have some breakfast with that. And then there was also this Australian cafe there with all like hot chocolates and cookies and coffees and stuff. So sometimes we'd get one of those. And then we'd go and ask for some pins because there's like a whole pin swapping thing there where each country gets their own set of pins, and so the Australia ones got theirs, and then you'd go out into the village and you try and trade them for each country. So I think in total we ended up getting 120 pins each from like all different countries. But yeah, so we'd go get the Australia pins. I think we get about 3. And so we'd go and trade them in about like 1 minute. So we'd have to come back and keep asking for pins and pins. I think in every day we'd get about 30, I reckon. And I think our main one to get was Nauru because they only had one athlete. And I think every day we'd go on the back of the paper plates, write pin swap, please. And we'd even write it in French as well for people that didn't know. And yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite experiences. And then after that, we'd skate around the village. We'd go to the merch shop, maybe make some like TikToks or whatever, and trying to keep up on social media, and yeah, it was pretty cool. The dining hall as well with all the athletes. I think we were walking there and we saw Simone Biles run past us one time. We're like, oh my gosh, that's Simone Biles. Like, what? And yeah, it's pretty crazy being there with all those amazing athletes and just seeing like the people there and how the runners are, the high jumpers, like, and like these are like the best athletes in the whole world, and like you get to be here with them. But yeah, it was pretty cool because me and my friend, we're like really picky eaters. We eat like literally no veggies. One of my friends only eats like white foods, like rice and toast and stuff. So in the dining hall, we'd have to go and find some stuff we like, but there'd always be like pizza and like some good dessert. So we'd go get that, and then yeah, we'd bike around the whole place. It would be like these little electric cars that you could go in, and yeah, you could ride around in those, and we just like look at all the village and look at all the different people's like houses, because there's like apartments with like each country, and seeing how different everyone's is, like the Brazil and Norway and then the Australia one. But yeah, it was really cool seeing all that. It's definitely a part of the Olympics that you don't get to see. You only just see like the TV and the sports part. But yeah, the village is pretty cool, and like how everyone's so nice to you, and like, yeah, just meeting random people, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
And TikTok and social media was such a massive thing for this Olympics specifically. I mean, it was for the 2020 Olympics, but this was huge. So many people were on TikTok. Did you love that? Were you a part of that? How important did you think that was to be a part of during this Olympics?
I mean, it was pretty cool having TikTok there, because when we were bored, we were like, oh, let's make a TikTok dance. And we knew that it would get like out to a lot of people because we were in the village and we were like so young there. So, and like all the athletes were telling us like, oh, you've got to make TikToks here, like they'll go really well here. So we ended up doing that, and I think we went like viral on a couple of them. But yeah, I don't really care so much about that. It was just like the fun thing with my friends, and like getting to look back on those and seeing the memories was pretty cool. And like also there's like heaps of like photo booths and stuff there you could take photos of, so it was really easy to like get photos out for everything and getting to show like the insights to everyone on social media. I think that was like the main question of like, oh, what does it look like inside the village, which is pretty cool, and getting to see like show all my friends back home like what it's like. It's pretty cool.
And you know, you're a young girl growing up in a world where social media is such a big part of our lives. How do you kind of tackle the side of social media where it can be a little bit negative sometimes? You know, for you as an athlete, how do you kind of tackle that and keep moving forward and, you know, keep having a positive outlook on everything?
I mean, with social media, there's a few things that people might say, mean comments and stuff, but I really just try not to take notice of it. Like, I know that some of it might not be true, and like I honestly just put my stuff out there and I try not to read any of it, like all the negative stuff, but most of it's just like support and like good stuff. I mean, you don't want to be hating on a 15-year-old or you look pretty silly, like.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my friends have gotten like a lot of stuff, but you kind of just like block the people and just like move on, like try not to think so deeply about it, because like people just trying to get attention or are just jealous, like kind of learnt that, especially being like young. You think like, oh, you get like really insecure about some things, or yeah, especially like females as well. But you just got to like be strong, and like if you ever like feel kind of down about something, like my friends will come to me and be like, oh, like someone said this, I'll be like, oh, don't even worry about it, like you're so much better than that, like they're just jealous of you. But yeah, try not to take too much notice of it.
And is there anything that you'd like to achieve outside of sports?
Well, right now I'm trying to finish year 10 and hopefully go into year 11 and finish school. But right now I haven't really thought of anything out of sports, because my whole life just been like sports and being out and about. I do like some other things, like I like piano. I really feel connected to music. The skate industry is really connected to music as well. Like when you're skating, there's always music going on, and like skaters definitely have some good style and music. I don't know, I'd have to think more deeply about that. It's hard to know, like maybe I want to be a scientist when I'm older, I don't know. But I think it'd be cool to give back to skateboarding, maybe coaching or just some sort of example for young girls who want to skate or surf, but they don't have much support to get there. Like, I've had so much support from my family and sponsors and community around me. So, yeah, just for people that didn't have that, I'd want them to have that.
And is there anything that you look at in skateboarding that you think could be better? Is there a place that you would like to see the sport get to eventually?
Obviously just more females in skateboarding and other sports. Like, I feel like females are so resilient and like they can be the best in the world. Like, the amount of females coming up from Australia in skateboarding is amazing. Like, they're so talented and they work so hard, and I reckon they can be like just as good as the boys. And I feel like the boys as well, they're like starting to encourage the girls into sports and stuff, especially in the skateboarding industry and surfing. Yeah, just more girls in sport is the main thing for me, and just encouragement and bringing up all the younger generations and doing, hey, you don't have to sit in your room all day. You can go out and learn something, whether it's doing a sport or if it's being a makeup artist, or whether you like singing or dancing. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just more females doing stuff and finding out what you love.
And I'm 25 and I have not achieved even half the things that you have at 15. In your perfect world, what would you have liked to have achieved by the time you're my age?
I think just keep on loving the sport, whatever I do, and just to encourage more people to do what they love and to get out there and try new things. And I don't know, going to another Olympics is definitely one of my goals as well, either surfing or skating. I'd love to do both. Be a dual Olympian would be pretty cool. Yeah, I guess just keep doing what I love, having fun, and learning new stuff and pushing the boundaries of women's sports.
That's a really great answer. You have given such amazing answers that I'm thinking to myself right now, when I was 15, I could not have said half the things that you said. But going back to the topic of school, how was that going back to school, coming back as an Olympian? You know, you just come back from the Paris Olympics. What was that like?
It was pretty weird. Like, I feel like before I left, they'd always see me as like the person who's never at school. Like, some people would ask if I'm even in year 10. They thought I was like in the year above or below because they just never see me there. But coming back, they realized like why I'd been away and why I'd been training so much. And it was pretty cool to have all the support of the people in my school, like saying good job and like recognizing me as an Olympic athlete. And yeah, even the teachers there were really supportive. When I came back, they made all brownies from the canteen for me, which is pretty cool. And seeing my friends there and just going back to like normal day classes is pretty like weird. Like, I wasn't used to that at all. But now I'm like fully back and like fully settled back in. I've got like my friend group I hang out with. And yeah, I mean, it's weird being an Olympian and going to school still, but it's definitely something I've enjoyed, and yeah, I wouldn't regret any moment of it.
And you've spoken quite a few times about your friends and your family. How important do you think it is for you and for other people growing up in sport, wanting to, you know, go to the Olympics or become a pro athlete? How important do you think it is to have a good support network?
I mean, having support from anyone is really the main thing. I don't think any Olympic athlete has gone there without any sort of support, whether it's your family or your school or your community, or it doesn't really matter who it is, as long as you have someone there for you that you know is going to be there when times are tough, when you're on highs or lows. Like, you're not going to always be succeeding in sports, and that's the main thing about it. Like, having lows and having to bounce back from it. It like reminds me of a thing I had to get through when I was trying to qualify for Tokyo. I think I was 12 maybe, and COVID had just hit and it had put the Olympics back a year. And so it gave me an opportunity to compete in the last qualifier in, I think it was in Iowa. And so I was over there. I remember training really hard for it. I went over there to compete, and I think I made it to the semifinals, and I needed to make finals to get to Tokyo. And so every single day they'd have to do COVID tests for everyone. They didn't want anyone who was getting COVID. And it ended up that one of the coaches got COVID over there. So, And so the coach got COVID, and so did one of the athletes as well. I didn't end up getting it, neither did my dad. But because of that, they disqualified the whole Australian team, and I never got to compete in the finals. And I remember just being in my bed, like under my bed crying because I knew I could have been there, and watching the finals on TV. It was literally like down the road. Yeah, it was definitely a major setback for me. And like at that point, I didn't even really realize what the Olympics was. I thought it was just a skateboarding competition, but I didn't realize it was way more than that. So obviously having to come back to Australia, go into quarantine for 2 weeks, not be able to see my mum and my sisters, was a pretty hard thing for me. But I think one of the best things was when I was in quarantine, I like got my sisters to play Roblox with me every day. And so I'd get them to take the day off school sometimes and like play Roblox with me, which is pretty fun. But yeah, it was like a major thing being so young and not even realizing what it was. But it just gave me more fire for Paris. Like, oh, I've done this like qualifying before. Like I know how to get there. So did the whole qualifiers again, ended up getting to Paris, and yeah, got it done.
And, you know, for someone at your age, it's such a skill to be able to work through setbacks and have that ability to do that. What would you say was the most important thing for you? How did you get through that time?
I mean, because I was only so young, I don't think it impacted me as much as it would if it was now. But I guess I kind of just kept skating and kept surfing and kind of just like pushed through it, I guess. I mean, I just kept on being a normal kid and not like thinking too much about like, oh, you've missed the Olympics, like you're done, your career's over. But I kept working hard. I think the qualifiers were only like a year after because it was already a year delayed because of COVID. So I got back into it. I think in the first qualifier, I got like 10th, which gave me like a lot of confidence in the rankings. And I think it was top 22 from the whole world that got to go. So it put me in a good position. I kept on doing them over and over, the qualifiers, getting some good results, and ended up, the last two, which were pretty nerve-wracking because they were like triple points. So to get to the Olympics, it was really crucial for the Australians. I think there was like 3 Australian girls that had potential of going in the top 3. And I think when I was there, the first one was in China. And so I had to do good. I think I had to make semifinals in that. And I ended up in the practice crashing into one of the girls. And I got this really like big cut right on my shin. And as soon as they see like blood, they take you straight off. So I had to like rub it. I remember I could barely even walk on it, and it was so painful. But I think I was first person up, so I had to like waddle over to the bowl. I dropped in and I fell off on my first trick. So I had 2 more runs left. I sat down. I was like icing my leg. Dropped in again for my next round, fell off on the same trick again. And my dad was like, oh, just do a different trick. Like, you're going to give me a heart attack. Like, just do a different trick. Don't do the trick. So I ended up doing a different trick. I made my run and I ended up qualifying for the semifinals, which was really big relief for me. And it was definitely one of those moments where I had to get put under pressure and make my run and have that, which is really cool. But yeah, it's such a big journey, like so many stories about like just the journey up to Paris was the main thing. Like it's such a big thing just to get there. And when you get to the Olympics, I'm like, oh, I've got there. Like this is the easy part. But yeah, it was such an amazing thing to talk about.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure, and being able to hear from you and telling me your story at such a young age. You've just got such an amazing future ahead of you. Before I let you go though, I like to give my guests a chance to highlight a woman that they think is doing amazing things in sport. So is there anyone who has inspired you lately?
I mean, there's a lot of women in sports that have done great things. I think one of my favourite people is Cathy Freeman, just because she's an Australian Aboriginal girl, and the stuff she's done for Australia is pretty amazing, and Aboriginal women, and showing that they can get into sports as well because they are the traditional owners of this land. And yeah, there's so many great sports people out there worldwide, and I think women pushing sports is just the main thing and helping each other grow.
That's amazing. What an answer. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ruby. And thank you to everyone at home for watching. Make sure that you subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know who you want to see next time on Momentum.